Are you ready for more Star Wars adventure? The Adventures of the Zolan Dart, a feature-length audio drama presented by the Dorky Diva Show, debuts January 22nd, 2021. It's available wherever you get your podcasts from and on the Dorky Diva Show's podcast feed. Enjoy the trailer next, and for more information, go to dorkydivapresents.com.
Shout! We've got your pigs.
Were any of the critters harmed?
What did you do now?
I didn't do anything. I just freaked out for no reason.
It was nice doing business with you again. Maybe next time we could deliver something less temperamental.
Now, what you call temperamental, I call fun.
Hey, is there a place nearby where I can make some repairs?
3 clicks south of here, you'll find a small spaceport. They should have what you need, as long as it's nothing too big.
Dynamic class? My stars, you don't hear about many of those still being space-worthy.
It's been in my family for a while.
She's pretty great. Any chance you have a hover cart we can use to load up?
I'll check out the HoloNet to see if anything new has come up in the sector.
My name is Sereth Khan. I am the chief here on Kamai. My people and I have been experiencing food shortages as of late due to unforeseen natural occurrences. We are looking to hire someone.
I say we take this one. The pay is great, and it's the type of job we're familiar with.
Welcome. You must be Captain Otoa. I've already sent word to Pack 2 to expect you in the next cycle or so.
You told him we were coming before we even accepted the job. That's rather presumptuous, isn't it?
Perhaps, though once I received confirmation that you were interested and on your way here, I couldn't help but hope.
Fair enough. Well, we'll be back as soon as we can.
Well, that's not good.
Is that blaster fire I hear?
So you're the one.
Captain, it sounds like they want to do this the hard way.
I love when they got some fight in them.
This is bad. This is bad.
We're about to have a lot of company.
I'll see you soon.
Hi, this is Savannah.
And this is Brian from the Dorky Diva Show.
And you're listening to Star Wars.
The best place for below-average Star Wars.
Welcome to Star Wars, best place for below average Star Wars.
Hello there, and welcome to the Star Wars Show, the best place for below average Star Wars. I'm one of your hosts today, the Geordie Jedi Pete, and I'm joined by our other host, the Canon Junkie XL, Ian. Ian, how are you doing?
I'm good, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm really good. Also been working hard, quite a lot of work lately. I did get The Light of the Jedi, the first novel in the High Republic series, delivered last week, but I chapters so far. But I'm looking forward to diving into that book in the next few days, because I do have a few days off. I know you finished that book, Ian. Obviously, no spoilers, but what were your overall thoughts?
It is, obviously, I've read it over the weekend, just gone, and it is my second favourite Star Wars book, probably of all time, just behind Darth Plagueis by James Luceno, which is the highest compliment I can give. I love the book. It's nice to be in an era we know not a lot about, and obviously it's been a long time since we've had a Star Wars book with genuine stakes. We know nothing about these characters. Like I said, when they do a book about Darth Vader before A New Hope, no matter how much in danger Darth Vader becomes in, we know he lives. In this book, you don't know who lives, you don't know who dies. So it's a genuine, there's a genuine, some tense moments reading it. But yeah, other than that, I can't recommend it any higher.
Yeah, some very, very high praise there from yourself. Makes me more excited to dive in. I think that's one of the selling points for me that I loved about this whole High Republic idea was it's characters we don't know, characters we haven't met before. We don't know who lives, we don't know who dies. So therefore, when you're reading it, not only are you enjoying all the little Star Wars tidbits that coming at you from all over, but also like there'll be that that like real sense of dread and emotion towards characters when you don't know what's going to happen and you're reading it and it's playing out in front of you because you don't know where these guys end up. Do they end up dead? Do they end up on the dark side? Do they end up living? So yeah, so I'm only 2 chapters in, but I'm really looking forward to sort of diving into it the next few days because I've got a few days off. What else have you been up to Star Wars wise apart from reading that book?
Not a great deal, mate, at the moment. Life's a bit crazy. It's a bit busy working. Obviously, in the UK, we're in another national lockdown, so there's not much to do. But other than Light of the Jedi, no, just waiting for the next High Republic books to come, which is apparently mid-February in this country, even though they're out in the States. Other than that, mate, not a great deal. Yourself?
Is that a Test of Fate by Justine Ireland we're waiting for? Is that right?
Test of Courage.
Test of Courage, sorry, yeah.
Yes, that is, yeah, that's the next one. And then obviously Claudia Gray's young adult novel Into the Dark comes out in February as well. So just waiting for them to arrive now, because obviously I've read Light of the Jedi. Now I just waiting to see what happens next. I did read the first issue of the Marvel comic by Kevin Scott, and that was very good as well. That was a great start to that whole era. It was good to put some visuals to what I've read in Light of the Jedi.
Awesome. So, I mean, that's for those guys who are listening who aren't quite sure what the High Republic is. It's a publishing initiative from Lucasfilm, and it's essentially told across novels, YA novels, children's books, young reader books, and comics, both from Marvel and from IDW, who are 2 comic publishing houses. And it's this era of Star Wars told 100 years before the Phantom Menace, when the Jedi are at their height. And obviously, so that sounds quite good then. So I've got till February to read Light of the Jedi, essentially.
Basically, yeah, because the Test of Courage was supposed to come out simultaneously with Light of the Jedi, but for whatever reason, I don't know what it is with the UK, the Disney publishing books, because obviously Light of the Jedi is done through Del Rey, who obviously have a Del Rey UK, which is the UK publishing arm of Del Rey. But the Disney publishing YA novels, for some reason, and it's not to do with coronavirus either, because it happened before, they seem to always get delayed by a week, a couple of weeks, or maybe even a month sometimes. So I don't know what the deal is with that, but yeah. So yes, because Test of Courage is supposed to come out concurrently with Light of the Jedi, and Into the Dark is supposed to come out on the 2nd or 3rd of February. But according to my Amazon thing, it won't be coming until the 18th. So
you've pre-ordered that already?
Yeah, I've had that pre-ordered since they announced the bloody High Republic.
Cool. Well, I've actually got some money left on an Amazon gift card, so I might pre-order that as well. And then that way I know it's just going to arrive when it gets released.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to diving into Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule. I also purchased a lightsaber this week. So it was from the lightsaber makers over at Padawan Outpost. You can find them on, they're on Facebook, they're on Instagram, they've got a website, Padawan Outpost. And they were selling these mystery boxes that a friend of the show, Hondo, let me know about. He says there's some cool word going around about these mystery boxes from Padawan Outpost. I was like, all right, that got my attention. And it was a mystery box. You don't know what lightsaber you're going to get. It cost, I think it was £59, free shipping. And they claim that your lightsaber will be worth anywhere from £70 to like 300 plus, or 200 plus, sorry. So I did that, ordered it on Friday or Saturday, I can't remember which day. But then by Tuesday, so like yesterday, this lightsaber turned up. DHL Express shipped, which was free. I paid £59. And the lightsaber that arrived was their Omega class, which is like worth £80, I believe. And this thing's fantastic. It's like a dual quality lightsaber. You can change the color of the blades using the lightsaber handle itself. The sound effects are awesome. The light effects are awesome. The hilt itself, this Omega class saber, is very much, it reminds me of like high class. Like it looks very sort of old school but classical. With reminds me of something like from the Old Republic or the High Republic era. So that was really cool. So I know they're sold out at the minute, but I recommend maybe trying to, if you're after a lightsaber, check out Padawan Outpost. This isn't a paid ad or anything. It's literally just I've just had an experience with them this weekend that was fantastic. So I just want to pass that on to everyone and those guys who are wanting the lightsaber. Maybe give it a shout and do some research.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that on Instagram. The lightsaber last night. It looked really good. So yeah, I might have to indulge in a mystery box whenever they come back into stock.
Yes, it looks like all the lightsabers that came into stock at the weekend have like gone, and because they make like replicas of like known ones as well, like Luke Skywalker, Ben Solo, and these things look fantastic. I mean, they're expensive, those ones, but they look in the pictures absolutely fantastic. So definitely worth having a little scroll through on Padawan Outpost. Like I said, I ordered it on Friday or Saturday. I got a text on Monday from DHL saying, two texts actually, one from DHL, one from them, saying, this is your tracking number, it's been dispatched. And then I got a text on from DHL on the day saying it's coming today by end of day. And then it arrived. DHL signed and delivered for free. Like I said, there was no shipping costs, mate. So fantastic deal. If you like lightsabers, check them out. Padawan Outpost. And one more announcement. We'll just dive straight in. So on February 7th, 2021 is Star Wars Podcast Day. We will be taking part in that. So thank you very much to the organisers of Star Wars Podcast Day for reaching out. As for what we've got planned for that, we're going to keep that secret for now, but stay tuned to our social media accounts and we'll start getting some of the creative juices flowing on what we're actually going to be doing for our February 7th Podcast Day episode. And before we get to February for Podcast Day, on January 22nd is another big day for friends of the podcast. Obviously, Brian and Savannah over at the Dr. Diva Show are releasing their first ever feature-length audio drama they've produced, The Adventures of the Zolan Dart. Obviously, you would have heard the trailer at the beginning of this episode and at the beginning of our previous episodes, which the trailer sounds fantastic, so I'm really looking forward to listening to their audio drama when it gets released on the 22nd of January. All you have to do for that is the episode itself, The Adventures of the Zolan Dart, which is the feature-length audio drama, will just pop up in the Dorky Diva Show's podcast feed. So obviously, if you just want to go over to wherever you listen to podcasts and just subscribe to them, and then when that audio drama gets released, it'll just download onto your phone or your iPad or whatever it is you use to listen to podcasts. And if you need any more information, obviously, you go over to the DorkyDivaShowPresents.com. Today's episode, Ian, obviously, we're going to be talking about, we're falling behind quite a bit in our Mandalorian recaps, but we're going to be doing Chapter 14, The Tragedy from Season 2.
We are, mate, yeah, indeed. One of my favourite episodes.
But before we dive into that, just a few things to talk about. So, obviously, I mean, I think this is just a name change. I don't think it's anything like about licenses or anything at this point. But obviously, it came out of the blue. Obviously, Lucasfilm Games is now a thing again. And they've sort of went mass on social media channels and on StarWars.com of announcing that Lucasfilm Games is now an entity and that will be looking after sort of all the future releases going forward. This is what they had to say about it in the release. Lucasfilm's legacy in gaming stretches back decades, and with Lucasfilm and the galaxy far, far away entering a new and unprecedented phase of creativity, so will the world of Lucasfilm Games, developed in collaboration with the finest studios across the industry. StarWars.com is thrilled to reveal that Lucasfilm Games is now the official identity for all gaming titles from Lucasfilm, a name that encompasses the company's rich catalogue of video games and its eye toward the future. To mark this new era, Lucasfilm Games has launched social channels on Twitter, which is at Lucasfilm Games, and Facebook, which is at Lucasfilm Games as well, which will deliver breaking news and more directly to fans. And they've also released a sizzle reel, which is now on YouTube, which celebrates the history of the gaming past of Lucasfilm. No mention of LucasArts in the press release, which I found quite weird. You may as well know. So LucasArts was originally Lucasfilm Games, I believe, back in the way back when, and then it changed into LucasArts, and then obviously when Disney purchased Lucasfilm, they shut down LucasArts, and now here we are with this. For me, I've seen it as a case of, when you start a game up and it comes up with the Lucasfilm logo.
Yeah.
Now when you look, new ones will just say Lucasfilm Games, and obviously they've obviously got an eye on working on more things than just Star Wars. Obviously, they've announced Indiana Jones game, for example, just yesterday. What was your sort of reactions to sort of this news getting dropped in?
I think this is probably laying the groundwork for obviously EA. Maybe because apparently EA's deal runs until 2023 with the exclusivity for the Star Wars license. I think this probably means that they will lose that exclusivity post 2023. I think this probably lays the groundwork for it. If you read in the statement, it says working across the industry with different studios. Obviously, like you said yesterday, they announced a Indiana Jones game that's coming out through Bethesda, who obviously make Fallout and those type of games. So I would probably lead to believe that EA probably won't retain. EA probably still be allowed to do Star Wars games post 2023, but I don't think they'll have exclusive rights to them because, I did say a while back that Disney were overly happy with the way EA handled the Star Wars license because they've had it since 2013, and if you think they've only done 2 Battlefront games, the first that was rushed. They even admitted it was rushed to get out in time for The Force Awakens. It was a bit of a bare bones Battlefront game. I enjoyed the game, don't get me wrong, but it was rushed. There weren't too many. There wasn't. I think there was a total of like 6 maps when it first came out. Obviously, you look at the problems with the Battlefront 2 launch. They didn't cover themselves in glory with that type of launch. Sorry if you can hear the dog barking in the background. It's just he's about to go out with my missus. But they didn't really cover themselves in glory with the Battlefront 2 launch. And obviously, they turned Battlefront 2 around. Battlefront 2 is one of my favourite games. I love Battlefront 2. And then they did Jedi Fallen Order, which again is amazing. So I don't totally knock EA. The last couple of games they've released have been very good. Squadrons is what it is. It was £30. It was cheap and cheerful. Like if you like multiplayer Squadron games, it's all right. And but yeah, I think to be fair, if they open it up to different studios, then it can only be a good thing for us because then we get different studios. I'm sure there's a lot of studios out there who want to take a run at a Star Wars game.
Yeah, I think for me, obviously, having the exclusivity of a license helps the people who have the license, the licensee. So obviously, EA Games probably pay a lot of money to Disney to have that exclusivity. Creatively and product-wise, you put yourself in a hole as a company if you only let one company deal with your license. So to make sense for Disney to sort of move away from the exclusivity of EA license, it means you can do all different kinds of things, games that are out of the box, games that are weird and quirky and fun. You can have other companies pitch ideas to you about games, and some of them might be rubbish, some of them might not be awesome, but it means you can pick and choose going forward. So I think for me, probably this team at Lucasfilm is probably the same team who's handled the games, like the gaming side of it, like the planning and the speaking to the studios. It's probably the same team there, but obviously now they've just got new branding as such. I just want to make clear, this Lucasfilm Games at the moment, it's not a gaming studio. So at the minute they don't have the capacity to make games. Obviously, whether they change that down the line, I don't know. But if they did, then it would sort of not make sense why they've got rid of LucasArts in the first place. Like it costs money to shut that down, especially when they had things in production as well. Do you know what I mean? So then to restart that back up, it's a bit like if you're changing your strategy already. I doubt you're doing that.
You have no idea how disappointed I was, and I've obviously put a tweet out this week how disappointed I was when we didn't get to play Star Wars 1313.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. So and another thing as well, it's not just as simple as restarting LucasArts and then bringing those guys. Those guys have moved on to their jobs now. And it's a bit, I'll come back and finish this game. They'll probably be like, well, you know what? Do I trust you? Because I'll come back and finish the game. And is this ongoing? Is it a job that's going to last for a while? Because you seem to be hot and cold about this. So I imagine they're going to, obviously, it's cheaper for them to have other companies make games for them. So I think they'll keep it that way. But I think it's a cool thing. Obviously, it's cool to see that there's more emphasis on games. It's cool to see that we're probably going to get different creatives getting a chance to pitch and make Star Wars games. It's fantastic, which means we could get you'll probably still get your Battlefronts for EA, in the Jedi Fallen Order 2s from EA, but then it looks like we're going to get like a wide range of other things coming from anywhere, and the possibilities are endless, which is really cool.
The proof of the pudding for me was like, obviously they're making this Indiana Jones game with Bethesda. If obviously, which is not run by EA, Bethesda is owned by Microsoft now. So to me, that just sounds like they're obviously willing to open it up. I know, obviously, they don't have the rights. EA don't have the rights to Indiana Jones games, but it's like I said, in 2023 when that deal comes to end, which I get why they did it back then. It was probably easier just to have one studio making them to start with. But
But also money, mate. Like if EA parked the bus and went, he has X amount of money for us to have exclusivity on your games, and to see the figures like huge, then like of course you're gonna take that, because it means no matter how good the games are, like you've banked that cash straight away before you even sell a game. But then obviously now they've got used to the company more. They know more about what Lucasfilm is and what they've got there. It is truly a multi, not just Star Wars. I mean, it is a multi. It's a multi franchise, multimedia company, really, with sort of a license to print money in all different kinds of ways, whether it be books, video games, comics, VR games, in the cinema, on TV, calendars, pens. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, the possibilities are endless. I think they know that's like now. Obviously, these. Let's just say this Indiana Jones game, and they get good feedback, and they're happy with how it's going. Then I definitely see them going to you know what, this exclusivities maybe not on the table. You can definitely come and make games, but you can't have a monopoly over that anymore, which I think is it's better for the Star Wars fan if that's the case. I mean, you never know, that might happen. Then EA might go back with another huge like amount of money and go, oh well, here you go, let's make a deal, exclusivity again, please. If the money's that big, they'll take it. Because you don't leave money on the table, especially in this COVID year.
I have a question for you. If you could make, obviously, we have Lucasfilm Games thing. If you could pick one game to be made, what would it be for you personally?
To be honest with you, I like being surprised. So like for me, I want a story-driven game. So along the lines of Jedi Fallen Order. I'm not a big fan of multiplayer. So I want a game like Jedi Fallen Order where it's like a huge, expansive Star Wars story that's steeped in Star Wars lore. I want it to be at least 60 hours long. And I want it to be like almost like Witcher 3 style. So you've got your main story point, and then you've got loads of side quests as well in there. Would be fantastic. And like I said, it's on canon as well, and have the story work on the story with the developers. And like what kind of story, I don't care, as long as it's Star Wars, and as long as it's canon, and as long as it's long, and as long as it's fantastic. I wouldn't mind whether it's set in like High Republic, Old Republic, set in New Republic, just whenever. I don't mind. But yeah, like that's what I want. I want a story-driven game, 60 hours long, filled with side quests. Would be fantastic.
Definitely, yeah. Like I said, I put out the other day. There's a few games I'd like to see resurrected. I don't think, obviously, as much as I love Star Wars 1313, I don't think they're obviously the code's but 8 years old. If they were going to do it, they'd have to start all over again. But that, like a game like that, where you were going to be going through the lower levels of Coruscant, trying to I think it was you were tracking a bounty. It was going to, because obviously everyone saw not everyone, but a lot of people saw the E3 trailer where obviously you were a guy on a cargo ship trying to ship something to Coruscant. But then later on it was going to be revealed you were Boba Fett. Well, you weren't Boba Fett, but Boba Fett was going to be the actual playable character. And then you were going to go through the Coruscant underworld. That type of game really interests me. But like you said, like, I'm on the same page as you, like an open world Star Wars game like that, like you said, a long one where you have like side quests and that, and you can planet hopping and that. That sounds amazing, but we'll have to see what they have in store. Like I said, if they were just going to stick with EA, I don't think they would have relaunched Lucasfilm Games. And like I said, they're already open to working with those studios because obviously Bethesda are making the Indiana Jones game. So exciting times, though. Like you said, I think it breeds creativity, and I think, like you said, studios can come and pitch Lucasfilm a game like a lot of authors do with the books. They pitch them an idea and they go, right, okay, great. we'll have a look, and obviously if we're interested, we'll green like that. So I think it's a lot better because the one glaring hole, I think we haven't got enough Star Wars games since Disney took over. So the more Star Wars games, the better for me personally.
Yeah, definitely. So moving on from that, we've ran a couple of sort of votes on our social media. Obviously, there's a big thing going about Robert Downey Jr. apparently playing Grand Admiral Thrawn, which to me was just a load of like, oh well, let's just connect the dots. 1 + 1 = 3 because Robert Downey Jr. now has Jon Favreau. So I put a little thing up. I thought I'd have a bit of fun with this. So I put, who do you want to play live action Grand Admiral Thrawn? And we have Robert Downey Jr., Pierce Brosnan, Nicolas Cage, and Henry Cavill. Well, you'll be surprised, mate. So coming in at last place with 8.3%, was Robert Downey Jr. Coming in third place with 16.7% was Pierce Brosnan. The reason why I put him in is because I remember being in Celebration Chicago, and when they put the Rebels panel up on like the big, they had this big sort of art panel which had all the Star Wars stories on it. And the Rebels one, the Thrawn one looks a bit like Pierce Brosnan, so that was a bit of so he's there. And then coming in at second place with 33.3% was Henry Cavill. Nick Cage is who the fans want to be. I mean, it could just be someone did a fun vote, but with 41.7 as well, mate. 41.7% of the vote. Nicolas Cage as Grand Admiral Thrawn.
That would be pretty funny.
Which I love Nick Cage. Right? People don't realize he's an Academy Award-winning actor.
I take the mick a bit, but no, he's a good actor. I'm just thinking of his like later years.
Yeah.
It'd be an interesting take. I'll give him that.
Definitely. And then, do you know who I think will play a great Grand Admiral Thrawn? I put this up on the Twitter with like a video. Have you seen like Cody Rhodes' facial structure?
I get where you're coming from. The facial structure. I don't know whether he obviously has the acting chops to pull that off. But I get where you're coming from with the facial structure. But my choice personally, obviously, if it can't be Nick Cage, would just be Lars Mikkelsen. He does the voice in Rebels, and I think he, I've seen pictures of him painted blue with red eyes and that. Or the other, obviously, Benedict Cumberbatch has been brought up for Thrawn, and who's the other up? There's three like really popular ones I've seen: Mikkelsen, Cumberbatch, and Fassbender. So,
well, I don't know about Fassbender,
but that's the three main options I've seen that people say. But it might be out of the blue, and they'll cast someone else. They might cast Nick Cage. You never know.
Yep. And then off the back of that, I then just got carried away, so I put another one up. Who should play a live action Mara Jade? So for those listening who perhaps don't know much about Legends and follow Star Wars canon, Mara Jade is like the in the Star Wars Legends era, which is no longer canon. There was a Hand of the Emperor, like an assassin of the Emperor, almost what the Inquisitors are in the new Star Wars canon, called Mara Jade, and then she eventually ends up sort of being the bride of Luke Skywalker and being the Jedi Master. So we put who should play a live action Mara Jade. So coming in last with 14.3% of votes was Lady Gaga.
Right.
Who obviously can actually do a fantastic job in I don't know what the movie's called now, in Star Wars Born, and then joint top, there's three people joined top with 28.6% of the vote. We had Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Who she is, to be fair.
Who obviously, so she did you watch Birds of Prey?
I'm behind on the DC movies.
Oh, sure, she's Huntress in Birds of Prey. Have you seen Scott Pilgrim versus the World? So she is. I forgot her name now. What's the main female character called?
I cannot remember for the life. I haven't seen Scott Pilgrim since it came out.
Ramona Flowers. That's the one.
Person is now,
I nearly said Ronda Rousey. I knew I was getting it wrong. So Ramona Flowers, and then also joined top was Kate Beckinsale.
Very good,
See, I'm not just funny. I do some serious ones as well.
I've seen these polls.
Try to get that level of silly answers in series. Yeah. So yeah, Kate Beckinsale. Obviously, get those vibes about the things she's done, especially in like the Underworld series. Like I think she could definitely pull off being a Hand of the Emperor. And then the third person who was joint top was Anne Hathaway.
That'd be she's very good. Anne Hathaway. Yeah, I have a suggestion. Karen Gillan.
Go for it.
I think Karen Gillan.
Yeah, definitely.
Not just because she's a redhead either, for people say. But no, I really like Karen Gillan. I think she obviously is quite the action movie, like obviously Jumanji and all that type of thing. She plays Nebula in the Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, all the Marvel films and that. And plus, she's a redhead as well, which always helps with Mara Jade. But,
yeah, definitely. So I'm going to be trying to do more fun. I'm going to try to do more fun, but also like semi-serious, but also fun, like sort of content on the social media. So if you don't follow us on Twitter, go to @BoresStar.
There is no way Robert Downey Jr.
take part.
By the way, that's not happening. I saw people run
it costs too much.
Like Robert Downey Jr. has spoken to Jon Favreau about a role in Star Wars. I'm like, I'm sure he has, but I don't think he's playing Grand Admiral Thrawn. But yeah, funny, man. It's just that's basically because obviously Iron Man and they're buddies. But
definitely, yeah.
I don't see them going, you can play Thrawn just because you're Robert Downey Jr. No, I don't see that happening, to be honest.
Have you got anything else Star Wars wise you want to add before we?
Nothing at the moment, mate. No, not really. There's nothing really going on at the moment. I don't think. Obviously, I'm still waiting. I want to know when we're getting the Bad Batch, to be honest, because I'm starting to miss. Obviously, we've got WandaVision and the Marvel shows starting to start on Friday, but nothing will ever top a new Star Wars show. And I have to believe the Bad Batch cannot be that far away, obviously, with the book of Boba Fett debuting in December. So hopefully we'll get a Bad Batch release date in the near future.
Yeah, I can imagine we'll probably get Bad Batch.
Yeah, because obviously WandaVision is out in... I don't think they'll drop multiple things. Obviously, it's different animation. The Bad Batch won't obviously get a bigger audience than as big as audience as the Mandalorian. But obviously, I think WandaVision's out in January, and then March is Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then May is Loki. So maybe April. I could see it maybe starting in April. Like, I don't know how many episodes we get for the Bad Batch.
I mean,
to be honest.
I wouldn't underestimate animation because No. I mean, so I'm going to spend something. So we've got do you know what the two most watched shows were on Disney Plus before Mandalorian season 2 came out?
Yeah.
So Mandalorian season 1, and then Clone Wars season 7.
Yeah.
In the second year. So that is what people are tuning in for at the minute. Obviously, that will change as more people come from the Marvel universe. But yeah, like the bread and butter of Disney Plus has been Star Wars fans lately. So like since its inception till now. So like I think they do take it. Like it has been the numbers don't lie.
High on that list because every time I log on and see trending, Simpsons is always trending number one. yeah.
So I think like new content. I mean, it's like the top new content, which is what people that's what the subscribers are coming in for, is to watch that new stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to keep putting out there to get new subscribers.
Obviously, we get a big boost
on
for
as well.
Disney Plus on the 23rd of Feb as well, with Star coming to the UK, which is exciting.
Yeah, so is that just
it's free, mate?
Is that extra?
It'll just show up on the 23rd. Obviously, I think my Disney Plus subscription renews on the 24th of March. So I pay for the year because you got that deal. If you pay for the year again, I think I think you go because obviously we got the introduction offer of $49.99, but this year it's $59.99 because that was the non-deal price. But it adds all the the more adult stuff to Disney Plus, which is nice because all the Family Guys are going on there, which makes me happy. So, yeah.
No, it'll be good. So diving straight in, we're here to review Chapter 14, The Tragedy, which is the 6th episode from the 2nd season of The Mandalorian. It's written by Jon Favreau, the showrunner, and it's directed by Robert Rodriguez, sort of cult filmmaker. I'll quickly go through the plot and then we'll dive into our thoughts. So the Mandalorian arrives with Grogu on Tython. Obviously, last episode we found out his name and we found out about the Saiyan seat at the temple on Tython. And he finds the ancient temple on top of a mountain. He seats Grogu at the center of that seat, so he may choose his path. Grogu meditates, and a protective force field appears around him. No pun intended. Boba Fett arrives with the mercenary Fennec Shand, whose life he saved on Tatooine in season 1, and demands the return of his Mandalorian armor, which is obviously the armor that Boba Fett took from the Marshal in episode 1, Cobb Vanth. Following a tense confrontation, the Mandalorian agrees to trade the armor for the safety of Grogu. 2 Imperial troop carriers arrive, and like loads of stormtroopers start jumping out of them, and they attempt to capture Grogu. Honoring the agreement, Fett and Shand stand with the Mandalorian. They join forces and they take on the advancing stormtroopers. And there's some brilliant action scenes happening, inflicting heavy casualties and some heavy hitting moves on these stormtroopers. Boba Fett retrieves his armor, using it to wipe out many stormtroopers before firing a rocket that destroys the fleeing troop ships. And then just when we think that the good guys have won, Moff Gideon arrives in his Imperial light cruiser. The light cruiser sends a bombardment of laser blast down, destroys the Razor Crest, like absolutely destroys it. There's no way the Mon Calamari are going to be able to fix the Razor Crest this time. No matter how high he is, he's not going to be able to fix it. Gideon sends out 4 Dark Troopers who were hinted at in previous episodes. They fly down and capture Grogu and take him back to the cruiser. Fett and Shand agree to help the Mandalorian save Grogu in honor of their debt. The Mandalorian, at the end, seeks the newest of the New Republic Marshals, Cara Dune, for help in breaking out a criminal, which is obviously Mayfield, in order to track Gideon to rescue Grogu. Impressed with Grogu's force powers, Moff Gideon shows Grogu the dark saber and has a stormtrooper stun and shackle him. After this happens, Gideon informs Dr. Pershing that they have the donor. So that's like a quick breakdown of the episode. What were like some of your thoughts about the episode?
I've been a massive Boba Fett fan since I first saw him. I can't remember when I first saw Star Wars back in the 90s. And just to see when Slave One obviously flies into frame, and you're like, no way. And obviously, we do get an answer for the end of Chapter 5, the gunslinger. We do find out that was Boba Fett who rescued Fennec Shand. But just to see Tamura Morrison back, see him talk about Jango Fett, see him talk about his armor, we get a lot more on Boba Fett's actual where he lies in the whole is he a Mandalorian debate where we get answered, because obviously we find out in this episode that Jango Fett was a foundling, because obviously it's always gone back to the Clone Wars episode where what's his name, Prime Minister Almec says, oh, Jango Fett is not a Mandalorian, he's a common bounty hunter, and but obviously that's not the case. Jango Fett was a foundling, and that means obviously Boba Fett does have a legitimate claim. He never said, got it. Yeah.
So I've got a question for you. So, like, are foundlings actual Mandalorians?
I am led
it's
to
just
believe
a cult, isn't it?
that there is probably a bit. Obviously, I've seen this theory banded about. There's probably a bit of Mandalorian elitism going around. Obviously, I think the Mandalorians who were born on Mandalore and all that type of thing might look down on people who are not. I don't mean this derogatory, but like pure Mandalorian, if you know what I mean. I think there's a bit of Mandalorian elitism going around. So when Prime Minister Almec just says, oh, Jango Fett was a common bounty hunter and nothing more, I think he's just being a bit of a snob, if I'm being honest. But I tend to believe Bo-Katan said about foundlings. I think it's kind of a thing. I think some people probably recognise them as Mandalorians, some people don't. That type of elitism going around, if you know what I mean. But other than that, yeah, the action scenes in this were some of the best action we've ever seen in Star Wars. Tamura Morrison bringing in his Maori heritage with the gaffy stick and beating the absolute death out of stormtroopers. Yeah, it's probably the most aggressive thing I think we've ever seen in Star Wars, to be honest. Yeah,
and like that's not surprising when you think about, you know, Robert Rodriguez directing this. Obviously, for me, when I was a teenager, I used to
Yeah.
love watching the mariachi movies, which was the first one was called El Mariachi, the second one was called Desperado, and then obviously the third one was Once Upon a Time in Mexico, and it's all sort of this sort of like Latin-based sort of assassins, heroes for hire, freedom fighters mixed in with the government. It's all very cool, very cool stylized violence, which is very much what we got here as well. And also like stylized in a brutal way, but also cool. So I was expecting like some good action from him when he got announced. I was like, this is definitely a good thing. This is the guy who directed Sin City. You know, he can turn the violence up and he can turn the content adult because, you know, like those mariachi movies are R-rated. But then he's made Spy Kids. His latest one on Netflix, which is We Can Be Heroes, which is sort of like a child-friendly sort of hero movie, which also stars Pedro Pascal. It's like just gone on Netflix at the end of last year, I think. So I thought it was a good choice. He can do this sort of really sort of nitty-gritty, angry violence, but he can also make kids' movies. And I think like combining the both for this episode, it's like this episode gets really harsh and really gruesome in places, but never steps over the line of being so that you can't watch it with your kids, which obviously Star Wars is all about, being able to watch it with kids and kids
I
watching
just
it.
love the fact as well. Obviously, there's been a lot of people say that Boba Fett is overrated, and then a lot of people I know have said he's overrated. And as soon as this episode came out and they watched it, they're like, "Okay, fair enough, we get it." He's a... yeah.
But it's like he was overrated though, because like not saying I've ever said that, but like all he ever did was like he had a couple of lines in Empire, didn't out really, just turn at the right time and track the ship, and then got hit in the back with a blind by a blind man and vanished forever. So it was like, really, if you look at what was actually done in canon up until this point, he hasn't done anything really. And then obviously here's where they decided to make him cool.
Like
Does that make sense?
Dark Horse comics and all that type of thing, where he was a really interesting character. But obviously, he's been in the Sarlacc. We obviously don't know how long he was in the Sarlacc for. Obviously, with the sense of honor and all that type of thing, the time in the Sarlacc has obviously changed him a bit. Obviously, we don't know how that plays out with what happens at the end of the season and what's going to happen next with the Book of Boba Fett coming out in December. But no, I think they give him, in a short period of time, they give him a bit of depth that makes him a lot more interesting. I'm fully aware when people say, "Oh, he was a bit one-dimensional in the OT," because he was. Because like you say, he didn't really do a lot, but he's a fascinating character now, and I think they'll give him the same treatment they gave Darth Maul. Obviously, Darth Maul in The Phantom Menace is basically there to be the baddie. Obviously, not hardly any lines, just look cool. Basically the same as Boba Fett. And now Maul's one of the most multifaceted, interesting characters in all of Star Wars. So I think I can see them doing the same thing with Boba Fett. Obviously, with the Book of Boba Fett, and who knows, we might see him in the Bad Batch as well. So I'm just looking forward to the future of Boba Fett. It's a good time to be a Boba Fett fan now. And I can't wait to see what happens in December with Boba Fett.
Yeah, definitely. So for me, some of the questions raised in this is like, I wonder how long he's been out of the Sarlacc for, because for me, I imagine he got out at the same time as the armor got out. Otherwise, he would be dead. And so has he just been watching Cobb Vanth scared to make a move on him? Or what? Like, I don't want, like, it's going to be interesting questions to answer. Like, why Boba didn't make a move on Cobb Vanth to get the armor? Why has he waited for Mando to take it and then chase Mando across the galaxy?
I don't know whether with this new sense of honor, maybe he saw Cobb Vanth doing good with the armor and left it. Maybe. Because he seems to have changed up. I'm not saying he's going to be a total angel now. I can see him still doing some shady stuff because he's from that world. But maybe obviously seeing Cobb do good with the armor, protect the town, maybe he was happy for him to have it. But then obviously when it changes hands back to the Mandalorian, right, now's the time. Because he's obviously had Slave 1 this whole time. Because obviously he's obviously had that the whole time.
Yes, I mean, for me, obviously, Slave 1 would have been part of its Stockholm base, so whether that was at Jabba's Palace or whether that was at Mos Eisley, who knows? I'd probably like to say based on some non-canon games. I know that Jabba's Palace did have docking bays, but maybe he doesn't have them in canon. But either way, he's either gone to Jabba's Palace and got it, or he has gone to Mos Eisley and got it, or maybe he had it parked in the desert, because I know he does like to hide the ship sometimes, especially if you watch Clone Wars. Like he hides it, and it can camouflage quite well. So maybe it was like out in the desert somewhere close to Jabba's Palace, where only he knew where it was. So he just went back.
I still maintain
since you got the sort of you living in there,
Fennec Shand was on the way to meet him in Series 1 at Mos Espa. I still think that might be the case. Maybe. Yeah.
So
get shot.
Fennec Shand before she
does say she's on the way to meet someone at Mos Espa.
Yeah.
Whether that's Boba or not, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, it makes sense, and obviously he comes looking for her once she doesn't turn up. Like, oh, well, hang on a sec, you haven't turned up. He knows how good she is. So maybe it's like she hasn't turned up, something's up. I will follow the path that she took, and then he finds her and saves her.
The Tatooine desert for no reason. Yeah.
Yep. We get a cool sort of life death, sort of similar to Han and Chewie here with Fennec and Boba.
Yeah, obviously.
Which was
and
I
then
found
he
quite
shows
cool.
Mando his chain code in his armor, which obviously has been. He said it's been his chain code's been in his armor for 25 years, and he obviously shows the chain code, and that's where, because obviously there's been a bit of debate at this point in this episode whether Mando's going to give him the armor, but then he obviously shows Mando that his father was a foundling, which obviously Mando says, fine, that's all right, you have... Because Boba Fett always says he's not a Mandalorian in this episode. He's not. But obviously he still has claim to his father's armor because his father was. And in the chain code, I remember seeing a breakdown for it a while ago. There's some interesting things in that chain code. Obviously, there is Concord Dawn, which is the planet we see in Rebels, which obviously is Jango Fett's home world in Legends. We see Jasta Mareel, which originally was the name for Boba Fett in Legends before Attack of the Clones, until obviously the Attack of the Clones retconned that, because obviously we found out he was a clone. So then Jasta Mareel became Jango Fett's mentor and leader of the Protectors in Legends. They mentioned the Mandalorian Civil Wars and all that type of thing. So if anyone's interested in that, there is a comic called Jango Fett Open Seasons. Obviously, it sounds like the broad strokes of that story are canon. Obviously, it probably won't all be canon because it's obviously a Legends comic, but it's a very good comic. So if anyone's interested in learning more about like Jango Fett, and it sounds like his backstory from Legends is pretty much the same in canon as it is in Legends. So if anyone's interested in learning more about Jango Fett, I can't recommend highly enough Jango Fett Open Seasons, the comic. I think it's 4 issues. It's hard to get now, like in physical form, but you can get it on devices to read. It's a really good read. Like I said, it sounds like a lot of his backstory is canon, vaguely canon. So yeah, that's been an interesting read for people. If they haven't read that, I can't recommend that high enough. It is published by Dark Horse, yeah. But
is that published by Dark Horse?
They brought it under Marvel now, and I'm pretty sure you can get it on the Marvel app. I think you can get it on the Kindle app and that type of thing. You might be able to get it on eBay again, like the trade paperback, because I do want to get that for my collection because I do love that comic. I think it's a good comic. Obviously, tells the story of the Mandalorian Civil Wars and that type of thing. And you see Jango Fett fight. You obviously get a bit more reasoning why Count Dooku chose Jango Fett, because they've had an encounter before all that at the Battle of Galadram. So it's all very interesting stuff.
Yeah. Cool. So obviously Boba Fett's awesome. That was a big part of this story. And another big part of the story was actually being on Tython in this Jedi planet, which we don't really see the temple. Yeah. We do just see the seeing seat on top of the mountain. What were your vibes on the seeing seat and the sort of layout?
I don't know why, but every time I watch it, I've seen a lot of people say it's Simi Valley in California. I don't know why, because obviously I've seen the comic as well, Dr. Aphra, and it was snow covered, and apparently Tython does have multiple climates. But I don't know why the background just seems to take me out of it just slightly. I don't know why. Nothing against the background. It looks like the hills where I live. I just don't know. It just doesn't look very like Star Wars. It just feels a bit like they're in the hills somewhere. But other than that, yeah, Typhon. I love the planet. It's obviously got a massive history and legends. It's very hard to get. It's very hard to get to Typhon and Legends because it's in the deep core. I don't know whether that's the same in canon now, whether it's out in the outer rim. But yeah, for some reason I don't know why. I don't know if you're the same. But like the setting, just I love the episode. It's one of my favorite. The setting just takes me out of it slightly, and I don't know why.
Yeah. So there's two things for me that took us out of it a little bit. So that was one of them. Like I love the seat itself and the way the top mountain's laid out with sort of them pillars that have been sort of knocked over a little bit. That bit's cool. But then everything else surrounding it, like it does just look like it's almost like as if you're in like the Mexican desert. I know it's not, I know it's California, but like a hot climate desert, like almost like you're on the set of Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Or like on the set of Roswell, if you haven't watched that series back in the day. So yeah, like it looked very like.
Yeah.
The good thing about it is that it looks real and grounded, but then also is magical. Where this was like real and grounded and a bit less magical, and the only magic was like in the set design at the top, where I would have liked to see that design be throughout the whole environment. The second thing that took us out a bit was, and I hate to do this, but it's just my honest opinion, but like I think this is the first time for me that like ILM have like dropped the ball a little bit, and I thought that the troop carriers like don't look that awesome, especially in the sky. I think that you can almost tell like that it's a visual effect. But I think like, and it's not bad, but like for me, I was like, that looks visual effecty to me. Where like, if you know, we go back to episode 1 in the Crate Dragon, like to me, I was like, that looks real. That looks real. That's a Crate Dragon. Everything from both seasons so far, nothing's made us think that, but this was the first thing that made us think, oh
yeah,
like that's a visual effect. So, but you kind of these guys are the best in the world at what they do, and like I said, it still looks fantastic. No. Like it doesn't look phony.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But the blend into reality wasn't as perfect as everything else has been. And everything else has done for the past like 40 years. Do you know what I mean?
I was in Cyprus for 2 years, and those hills look exactly like the hills look like in my camp, and it just felt like maybe I was back in Cyprus. Yeah, so they did. That's the obviously the episode was fantastic, but I know what you mean. There's a point with the visual effect where the troop transport lands, and a stormtrooper start running out, and you're like, they just look a bit. They're not obviously real stormtroopers; they're computer generated stormtroopers. And they just look a tiny bit off. Tiny bit. If you know what I mean. But other than that,
yeah. This episode was 32 minutes long. I think it's the shortest Mandalorian episode so far. And it's quite funny because like Robert Rodriguez's movies are known to be like he edits like he cuts really fast. Like all his movies are fast-paced movies. Like it's really, really quick cuts. They'll sort of keep you on the edge of your seat almost sort of thing. Like, the story's constantly moving forward. So he's gone and said that when he got his script, it was 19 pages long. And he was like worried. He went to John Favreau and went, look, it's 19 pages anyway, which is short. And he was like, so if you think about 19 pages, I think it's like a page a minute. You just what to say. So like you look like a 20-minute episode, and then like he was worried because the way he cuts his stuff together, he was like, this is good. This is going to be like a 15-minute episode, 16-minute episode. And then Favreau was like, oh no, like that's the story elements, but within that, the battle scenes aren't wrote out. So like obviously your class at stylized violence and stylized combat. So like fill those out with what you want, and obviously that's what he did with like some of the awesome, like the Boba Fett using the Gaddafi stick before he gets the armor, where he's just like hand-to-hand combat, crushing people. Absolutely fantastic. And then obviously once he gets the armor, and he's just like a gunslinger, he's almost like, he's like built like a heavy dude, but the way he shoots and moves, he's like as fast as like, it reminded me of one of like my favorite movies, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and like Sundance, the fastest gun in the West. The way he was able to just shoot troops once he gets his armor and his gun reminded me a bit of Sundance. So like again, like some brutal violence in this, which was class, and then some like really stylized gunfighting as well, which was brilliant. And for the humor, like the humor of like Boba when he shoots the missile and takes out the troop carrier, and he's clearly aiming for the other one, so he's only going to kill one of them, but he misses and shoots the one that's further in front, and then that takes out both of them. So a bit of humor there. The humor when he's like, "I want your armor," and Mando was like, "Over my dead body," and then he's like, "Not that armor. I want my armor." It was quite like it's like two stubborn brutes in the pub, like arguing over a game of darts or something.
Obviously, when he says, "Oh, I want the armor," and Mando thinks, "Oh, no, but you're not having mine." He's like, we all know, like, well, no, he doesn't want your armor, Mando. Yeah.
Yeah, but everybody since day one's wanted his armor.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? I want the Mando armor. I want the best star. Like,
sense, yeah.
he's going to steal it, and like he's had to deal with that like all throughout the North, and then obviously, yeah. So it's just like really, really funny. So yeah, like I just love this episode. Although it was 32 minutes, I felt like an absolute like almost being on a roller coaster, like a really good, like the best roller coaster in the world. Having just the best time of ups and downs and craziness getting thrown at you, and it really was a fast-packed thrill ride. It's probably a good thing because we've got all that enjoyment and adrenaline, and then quite a tragic ending. I mean, when it came up the tragedy, I was like, "Oh God, the child's getting nicked here." I was like, "Jesus!" But then it put you in this thing where it's like, "Oh, the good guys are so good; they're going to win here." But they're just too far away when those Dark Troopers turned up. What did you make of the Dark Troopers?
Fly down and surround the child and take him, but they do look very menacing. I did laugh a bit because there's a part where they obviously slow themselves before they fall. It looked very Iron Man, which obviously makes sense with Jon Favreau running the show. But yeah, no, they're very intimidating. Obviously, the heroes are too late to grab Grogu, and then there off he goes. But yeah, I did. They look very good. I like the Dark Troopers. Obviously, they're an old thing from Legends. We've seen various variants in canon in like Rebels, and in the trailer for the Bad Batch, there's like an earlier version. Because obviously, we later on in the season we find out that at first they were suits of armor. Obviously, these are full-on droids. But no, I really liked the whole design, and they look pretty close to the Dark Troopers of Star Wars Legends. So no, I enjoyed the Dark Troopers, mate.
Yeah, I thought the design was really sleek. That Iron Man bit when they hovered down did take us out of it a little bit. I was like, oh god, but other than that, yeah, I think they look menacing. They're quick. They can fly. Like they don't need spaceships. Like it very much painted them as like quite a dangerous threat. Not just because they can be very violent, but also it can be very like they can just fly in and nick something and fly out. Like they can be very violent, as we know, going forward.
Quite versatile.
But also, like here, they don't even need to fight. They just fly down, get the child, and go. Yeah, very versatile, so very, very dangerous. Definitely more dangerous than your normal Roger battle droids who are clumsy. But yeah, I think for me, what did you make at the end of the episode? Obviously, seeing Cara Dune and asking for a favour.
And obviously, she searches for Miggs Mayfeld, which is Bill Burr's character from the first season. And yeah, it's fun continuation. Obviously, it's fun continuation from when Cara is talking to Carson Teva at the end of chapter. The one that's called The Siege. I can't remember the chapter names right off the top of my head. Obviously, he says about something going on out here. We need people to think, and obviously leaves the New Republic medal, whatever that thing is that he leaves with her. And obviously, we see that progression with her now becoming a marshal of the New Republic, and yeah, and obviously that leads into the next episode, obviously where she's back with the team to help find Baby Grogu.
Yep. For me, it's set it up cool. I was like, right, he's got Boba, he's got Fennec, he's now gone back. He's getting the team together, and he's going to go back and get his son back. He's going to get the child. He's going to get Grogu back, which was sort of, although we had an action-packed adrenaline-fueled movie like episode, of like craziness and fun ride. And then at the end, it was like, oh no, like, like, the child's been taken. It was like really such like a punch in the gut almost, sucked it out of the room.
Yeah.
But then we got this bit where it was like, oh no, there's a little bit of hope because Mando's got his friends he's made throughout the seasons, and he's going to go and get the child back. One thing for me, obviously, I loved Fennec Shand in this episode. I thought getting to see Ming-Na Wen really like show her action chops here was fantastic. I thought she was so quick, so versatile. Again, she was a very fast gunslinger, slinging that rifle around like it was a pistol, and just very, very accurate shooting. And the way she was running across the rocks and the way she sort of took cover and then she kicked those rocks down to sort of kill some troopers was really cool. Obviously, I know when Ming-Na Wen was cast, everyone was like going crazy about how good this is going to be. And obviously, in season 1, it was like, oh, have you underused her? But she really hasn't. Well, yeah, it's all been plotted out from day one. So it's like, yeah, we're going to show you here, but you guess what? This is part of the story where this is where she is. So there's not much for her to do here. But then later on, you're going to see this. So it's like, guess what? No, it wasn't wasted. All part of the plan.
Told,
slow and steady wins the race.
Not kill you off, but obviously leave you in peril, and then you're going to return with Boba Fett. It would. I think she'd be like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." yeah.
Well, I think it would all new because I think like, they would have signed like more than one episode deals. Yeah. Otherwise, when you couldn't bring them back, they might have took all their jobs and not be able to come back. So I think like the actors would have known. She would have knew the plan. So I think like. Yeah, I think absolutely fantastic stuff. Obviously, we've had to wait for it, but it made sense to do it here. So it was great to see her. Another cool fact about the episode is that obviously Ludwig, the composer, Ludwig Göransson, he did some music sessions over Zoom with Robert Rodriguez himself. Mainly about Boba Fett's theme, because Rodriguez wanted Fett to be like primal, like a barbarian. And they used things like a war horn. And like took inspirations from like distorted sounds of like didgeridoos and that type of like primal tribal style of music, which I think pays off in this because you get to see a raw and brutal Boba doing raw and brutal things, and the soundtrack behind him is very much like tells the same story, the beat of the same drum, if you know what I mean, and it really does add to the storytelling. Yeah, so and there you go. And they just show that they took it really seriously. It wasn't a case of what you guys going, just do whatever. It was a case of like, no, I'm going to work with you on this. We're going to Zoom call. This is what I want. We're going to go backwards and forwards. We're going to tighten those tribal aspects of like Boba's combat style, as you mentioned before. So yeah, like absolutely fantastic.
Not
Have you
really
got any sort of closing thoughts on this episode?
It's like I said, I've loved Boba Fett for years, and seeing him actually on screen kicking ass and taking names is a really fun moment. Obviously, I loved it. Like I said, we've got a bit nitpicky with the thing, but this is what it is, mate. At the end of the day, but no, I was extremely happy. It's one of my favorite episodes, to be fair, just for the Boba Fett stuff and hearing Jango Fett's name said again and all that type of thing. Obviously, no, I loved it. Yeah.
I mean, I know I've nitpicked two things, but like I don't think I've nitpicked. It's just some slight things I didn't like, but like overall, the episode was a fantastic sort of rip roaring roller coaster. I think I describe it as, which is for me that's if I'm calling something the best roller coaster ever. That's high praise. Do you know what I mean? Like you can't get better than the best roller coaster ever. Otherwise, it wouldn't be the best roller coaster ever. So yeah, I think like a fantastic episode. I think all the cast were brilliant. The sound was brilliant. Like the sound design, and then also the soundtrack from Ludwig on Boba's theme. I think you're damn right. He did a great job of projecting that brutality with Boba. Obviously, Temuera Morrison being back as well was fantastic. He hasn't missed a beat. It's good to see. When he delivered that line where he's like, "I'm a simple man trying to make my way in the galaxy," I was just like, "Get in!" Like, absolutely fantastic. Like. Just absolutely brilliant. Ming-Na Wen, we got to see her really cut her teeth in this episode. Fantastic stuff. Got to see the Mando doing a lot more fighting, which is great. Little details. I love the little inscription around the scenes Grogu was sitting on, how it lit up when and I don't know what it says, but it's obviously ancient Jedi text or something. But I thought that was like nice little touches. Obviously, we do see Grogu does actually sending a message out there in the Force, which we know will be answered later. But it goes to show that he does perhaps he does want to be trained to be a Jedi because he's chosen to send a message out into the galaxy using the Force for other Jedi to sense. But yeah, like I said, I love this episode. Yeah. It was like a 32 minutes, you know, where you think, oh, this could be like a what's going on? It's too short, but it was absolutely like just hell for leather. Like I said, like a roller coaster, roller coaster has 2 minutes of like intense joy. Do you know what I mean? Like that's what I thought. This was 32 minutes of intense joy. But yeah, I think like I don't know, it's sort of an episode where like not much really happened. Like you can see why it's a short episode because essentially they land on this planet, Grogu does his thing, and then like troops arrive and there's trouble. But then help arrives, but it's all set in like one place. If you know what I mean. So really, there's not really much going on like story wise outside of it to like be too long. So I'd rather than keep it short and sweet rather than like adding things in to drag it out, which then don't make sense. You know what I mean? If it makes sense, and put it in here. I'd have a 3-hour episode if it made sense. But the fact is that like after 32 minutes, it makes perfect sense of what it is.
I was gutted.
What's your thoughts on the Razor Crest being destroyed?
I was gutted because obviously I think already it's an iconic Star Wars ship, just from its appearances in The Mandalorian. I didn't see it coming, say that now, because they've obviously just sold the absolute load of merch with it, and obviously did the Hasbro lab thing that everyone pledged for to get one built. But that obviously shows, like you said, I remember saying a couple of weeks ago with something, obviously shows that they're not afraid. They're not going to not do something because it's a merchandise seller. Obviously, that's a massive part. That's a massive point at the end of the season, if we're led to believe what happens. So yeah, I'm good for them. If it suits the story, and then they're not going to hold back just because obviously the Razor Crest sells a boatload of merchandise.
Definitely. I mean, for me, I laughed. I was like, you can tell why they did the HasLab thing before the season came out, because maybe people wouldn't buy it as much if they knew it was going to get destroyed. But yeah, like I thought it was really cool. I mean, the way they destroy it, it's like definitely destroyed. There's no way that's getting rebuilt. But I thought it was good because it added a meanness to Moff Gideon, and it showed you like these Imperials are not to be trifled with. Not only have they got the Dark Troopers, but they've also just blasted his ship out. This like they've destroyed it. It's gone. And obviously we do see him pick out the pure Beskar Pike out the damage, which to me was like, yep, that's going to be used in the final battle. But yeah, I thought I was rich when the show got started. I was like, oh god, oh no, and then like, but then I was also like, oh, we're going to get to see a lot of Slave One, which obviously we do in the next few episodes, which is good. Which is obviously an iconic ship in its own right. So yeah, like I thought, like you said, Ian, like being like saying, "Oh, you know, we're going to destroy his ship and it's gone."
I know,
and like then they did it. So like, who knows what he's going to be fine in season 3?
That'd be cool.
Yeah, well, that would be cool. I can tell you that. I mean, if he is going to team up with the Night Owls of Mandalore, then yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
But yeah, like when the blow up was like a shock factor, my jaw dropped. But it fit the story. It made these Imperials so much more menacing, and I think it was important to have them blow the ship up because the last time we saw Imperials was on the episode on Trask when like the Mandalorians take over the vessel pretty easily. So it was like, we need to show them being a bit more competent, a bit more of a threat. And like I said, they not only have they took the child, but they've blown up the ship as well. So like, obviously, he doesn't realize that Boba Fett's going to give him a ride. Do you know what I mean? But like, for all intents and purposes, Moff Gideon probably thinks the Mando's stranded.
Yeah.
I've destroyed his ship. I've took what I wanted. He can't chase us now. Problem solved. And I think that's why later on, when the next episode at the end, when he sends the message, when Mando sends the message to Moff Gideon's face drops a bit because he's a bit like, "How are you still a factor in this?" But it's like, well, it's because he's making friends all over the galaxy, man. So
No, I'm happy.
But yeah, any other thoughts you want to add about the episode before we move on? Cool. So I believe that gives us 2 episodes left to review. So we'll have Chapter 15, The Believer.
It is.
And then after that, we have the finale, which is Chapter 16, which is The Rescue, I believe. So yeah, it's almost like I know we're reviewing these a bit late, which I'm actually enjoying doing because it's the Mando came and went so quickly. Like within 8 weeks, it was gone. But like going back to when I was like sort of allowing us to rewatch the episodes and then talk about them, which is keeping it alive. Which is fun. It's good.
100%, mate.
So your favourite character this episode was Boba Fett?
Yes,
I take
it was. Yeah.
And was your second favourite Fennec Shand? Cool. Yeah, I think same for me. Like I love Boba turn up was cool. I love Fennec was fantastic in this episode.
So, yeah, I've always loved like the crime and the underworld and Jabba's palace and all that type of thing. So yeah, seeing the most notorious bounty hunter in the galaxy take back his crown was a pretty cool moment. And obviously, I love Ming-Na Wen as a person in general. So whatever she does, I love. But yeah, seeing her come back as Fennec Shand, obviously when a lot of people thought that she got the same treatment as Tandy Newton in Solo, obviously there was always a plan for her to bring her back. And now she will get a chance to shine even more alongside Tamora in the Book of Boba Fett, which is awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I think that show has an opportunity to be like so good, so brutal, but like also Star Wars. I think it's going to be a fun ride. Did you ever play
on the PS2
Star Wars Bounty Hunter Jango Fett?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my favourite game memories. That game, obviously, you do get to see a lot of the underworld in that as well. So I'm hoping that we're going to get like, obviously you can't. It's a prequel story, so you can't have that story. But that type of feel in this series, I think, is going to be fantastic. Awesome. So that brings an end to the episode. Obviously, just want to say thank you for tuning in, listeners. Obviously, coronavirus is all across the world, so I hope everybody is staying safe. Wear your masks, keep your distance, be safe wherever you are. Obviously, here in the UK, we're in our 3rd national lockdown, so yeah, guys, just please be safe. Look after yourselves, look after everyone else, be kind. May the force be with you all. As I said, we're really looking forward to a busy few weeks, a busy 2 months. We've got 2 Mandalorian reviews coming. We've got our special episode coming on February 7th for International Star Wars Podcast Day. I'm also hoping to get the Dorky Diva show to come on and speak to us about the feature-length audio drama, The Adventures of the Zolan Dart, which is coming on January 22nd. So hopefully we're going to have them to come on after the podcast has been released, so they can be a bit talk spoilers about the audio drama. So yeah, I've got lots going on. Obviously, myself and Ian also invaded the Star Wars Escape Pod podcast with Josh last week. And that was for their 100th episode, so definitely go check out Star Wars Escape Pod. And if you listen to their 100th episode, you'll hear me and Ian getting all sweaty about Star Wars on the Mandalorian.
Josh was the first podcast.
How did you find that, Ian? Did you enjoy chatting with Josh?
He's a great guy out in Canada, and he's a good podcaster. So yeah, I just second what Pete said. Anyone who wants to listen to a good Star Wars podcast, check out Star Wars Escape Pod with Josh.
Definitely. Obviously, this episode we're on recording right now will be episode 41 of the Star Wars show. Episode 40, which is up now, go and listen to it now. That is a Knowing Me, Knowing You, AHA special, and that is with Josh from the Escape Pod podcast as well. So obviously, it's good to be mingling with our podcasts and doing lots of collabs, which is fantastic. It's what being a Star Wars fan is all about, is getting to know all the other Star Wars fans and talking Star Wars in a brilliant way, in a positive way. So I'm enjoying that. So check out episode 40. That is with Josh from the Star Wars Escape Pod. And also, if you go check out episode 39, that is with Luke from the Hot Off the Press podcast. So obviously Luke has just come back to Star Wars podcasting. So I think he's got about 3 episodes up now. He puts his podcast up on podcast feeds and on YouTube. But check him out, Hot Off the Press. And I said, check out episode 39. And that is another knowing me, knowing you, aha special with Luke.
Yeah.
Hoping to get a few more of them done as well. Obviously, we're in a third lockdown here in the UK, so why not continue the lockdown specials? Because I really do enjoy talking Star Wars with other people, and it not necessarily being about the news and what's happening. It's just about asking each other any Star Wars question you want, because it means the possibilities of conversation are endless. But yeah, that brings the end of the episode.
Twitter and Instagram, all lowercase,
Ian, where can the people find you on social media?
Star Wars Ian. That's where you can find me for your Star Wars related nonsense.
Yeah, so anybody who doesn't follow Ian on social media needs to do it. His Twitter account I find beautiful. Plenty of content. He's always posing awesome questions, awesome thoughts. He posts some brilliant images on there as well, quite regularly. So definitely check out Ian's Twitter account. It's fantastic. It's where I read a lot of my Star Wars stuff from when I'm scrolling through. Obviously, you can check out our social media at the end of the show on the outro track. But yeah, from me and from Ian, may the force be with you all. Please follow us on Twitter at BoresStar. That's at BoresStar. And on Instagram and Facebook at Star Wars Podcast. You can also reach us on email at starwarspodcast@gmail.com. The Star Wars Show can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, and wherever podcasts can be found. Please give us a like, subscribe, and don't forget to leave a 5-star review. May the Force be with you.